player is John Cornell, who is also a New York guy. He's been here just for a couple of years, but they're pretty badass. So I'm happy to be gigging with them, and we're starting to write, and currently, just working towards putting out a record, and so it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, without a doubt. But is that who you're playing the gig with tonight?
Tonight's a different gig. It's basically like a private gig, and it's just different people. More of a like a pop rock thing, but it's nothing that need to bring up.
Right.
But yeah, it's a cool situation. It's actually like a really old friend that needed some guitar services. So
cool.
So I'm heading out for that.
And then I seen you posted. What do you got? A couple of solo gigs coming up. Is that just going to be you, or is that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be doing solo material at Skinny's, which I think is it this Monday or something coming up. Yeah, and that'll be just me with my acoustic guitar, like singing songs. I've got acoustic and string quartet album called Hesitant Poet that I put out, and it's definitely like sort of more folky singer-songwriter vibe. But I'll probably be doing more of my singer-songwriter stuff on Monday night. So, yeah.
I don't know how often you do these type of gigs, but what's the turnout been like? I always like to hear how the crowds have been, because for a while there, when we were having a bad economy, it was very hard for musicians to survive, especially in this day with digital downloads, and it's really hard to make money unless you're gigging live. But how have the live shows been?
Well, I mean, the music I do for myself is less about making money. I tend to make my music just more for art's sake. So, I definitely, have income coming in from doing gigs and production. I like to produce artists, and also write for TV and film, and have, handful of students that I do some online Skype lessons with. By the way, if anybody's interested, you can reach out to Jay. But yeah, so it's pretty all over the place, as far as the income goes. If I just had to rely on income from just my music, it would be tough.
Right. I definitely know that feeling.
But it hasn't been, it's been going great. I'm really quite pleased with the way everything's rolling. I keep myself diverse and keep a lot of plates spinning, so to speak. There.
So. What's some of the stuff that you got coming up? I mean, I don't know if there's, things in the works that you're planning, or any future things booked that you're going to be touring around, or new artists you're working with.
Oh, right. I'm going to go do a concert for the Earth in Costa Rica. That's like second week of second week of October. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. And basically, I've got some production projects in my studio, and just really gigging. I don't have any tours lined up, with any like pop star like Chris Cornell or whatever. But for the most part, I've been starting to hunker down and write at this point. It's in between tours, a musician has to learn to take the downtime and channel the energy into something creative, like writing a record or doing something that's not necessarily, you know, like when you're on tour or doing some kind of, you know, big artist pop gig or something, then, you know, you're sort of earning and you're not really, you know, you don't really have time to like sort of focus on creating something. But you just kind of juggle the time a little bit like that.
Right.
I'm definitely in a more of a creative phase in the studio, producing and writing and just things like that. So
I do a fair bit of research before, you know, I interview someone. Plus, I already knew, you know, a lot about you just from being a fan of multiple bands you've been in. There was a few times you actually played in the club right down the block from my house, and I didn't find out until it was over. I think it was actually Fuel at this Bourbon Street place in Newport Richey, Florida. But you're a touring and recording artist for a Japanese pop star. I just couldn't recall the name, but
oh yeah,
how does that work out with them in Japan?
That was pretty awesome. Yeah, that's there's a big Japanese band called the Bees, and they're sort of like as big as the Stones in Japan. There's a few of them like that in Japan, and this particular artist is Koshi Inaba. He's the lead singer of the Bees, and that was basically moved to Tokyo for 3 months and then hub out for 2 shows a week to Nagoya, Osaka, you know, all these various places, and that was the schedule for 3 months. And love that kind of thing. I mean, I get to basically assimilate to a new culture and live, you know, have an apartment in Tokyo and all that kind of thing. So that was a super cool thing. And actually, Corey McCormick from CORNELL band was in that situation too, coincidentally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And I had another sort of more recent experience. Like at the beginning of last year, I was doing some touring with this Chinese pop star called Li Hong Wang. And that was like, you know, he's a huge arena artist in China. So it's been, and I'd never been to China like prior to that, so that was crazy because China's a whole other world.
How difficult was it to stay in those parts of the country for so long? I mean, did you have to? I mean, I'm sure they know English, so and for a moment,
yeah, I mean, it's never a problem because you're usually just sort of in a Western hotel where everybody speaks English, and the food was a little tough to get used to in China. Japanese food is awesome. I love sushi and I love udon noodles and all those kind of things.
Right.
But Chinese food is a little different.
Yeah, it's not the Chinese food that you get here.
Yeah, they got some mystery meat and stuff. I've seen a chicken head on my plate and strange stuff like that. But and that's at a fancy restaurant, so you know, they just have a different trip.
Yeah. I'd be a little shocked getting the chicken head on in my Chinese food.
Yeah, there's also some pretty nasty smog in, you know, a lot of the big cities in China, so you don't even really want to be out. Like, they have constant, you know, smog alerts going on where they're like, stay indoors and stuff like that. So it's not really like the kind of tour where I got to like explore and get into the culture that much. But yeah, it's fun to do all sorts of random type of gigs, you know. And
when were you in Japan? Was it any time around like with the tsunami that, you know, with the nuclear stuff, or?
It was prior to that. I think it was around, like 2010 maybe. So yeah,
that was just before it, right? Yeah, that's crazy. But that must be awesome to have been. I always wanted to go to Japan, and when I was younger and I was doing my music thing, I kind of slowed down from it with the radio stuff going on. But I actually, got record deals and was going to go to Japan, and one of the drummers backed out, and it was like pretty much ended that deal. But that's something that to this day still pisses me off, that I never got the chance to go there and do that. So that must have been, really amazing to do that. That's crazy, but
yeah, it was super cool. I loved it.
What's the energy level like as compared to the United States as playing in front of a Japanese audience? I never really got to talk to someone that, played in arenas and whatnot, over in Japan.
Well, they're, again, like, they're pretty into it, but it's a fairly tame pop audience. Koshi Inaba is like a pop star. So it's, primarily young girls in the audience, but, like, just very tame kind of thing. Whereas, like, where BUCKCHERRY, we would play in a small club in Japan, and everybody would go apeshit. It was different, it was just, there was, like, a crazier, rabid kind of energy. Whereas, like, with the pop star thing, it's kind of a little bit safer, like people aren't as, although those, the venues were arenas and stadiums and things like that, so it's pretty cool stuff.
I remember when you guys, like, toured, I was up in New York at the time, but you guys, when you were in BUCKCHERRY, you guys were, I think, out of, like, North Carolina or something, and then just toured in the radius. I think that's what my cousin told me.
We had, that was our, like, sort of Midwest residency, or not South. Yeah, like, we were just kind of, like, basically living out there and just hubbing to different gigs for, like, 2 months or something like that. It was great.
Is that how it works in a lot of the stuff you did, like when you go to Japan, or were you just, you just kept it separate and just basically did your job?
What was the question? Is that how, what?
Is that how it worked, like when you went in Japan and you hubbed out of one spot and then toured out, or did you just kind of just go to your hotel and then show up for your gig that night? Sort of
similar. It's like a residency gig, I guess. It's similar. For Tokyo, we would basically we had an apartment, and then we would only play like Friday and Saturday, and then basically I'd have like 5 days off in Tokyo, and we would just take the bullet train to whatever city we were going to be doing the arena shows at, and then come back on the Sunday.
So you had a good amount of time to explore when you were there, basically.
Yeah. Whereas, like, with the South residency thing we were basically, like, gigging at least 4 or 5 nights a week. So we were kind of, like, we would drive to, like, Chapel Hill and play place, and then we'd go to Atlanta and play 9 Lives the next night, and then we would go to, play Ground Zero in South Carolina, or it was like kind of like this, basically we were working a lot, kind of busting them. But that was like basically the first tour that DreamWorks put us on, and they just really wanted to expose us to those markets.
Right.
Pretty calculated, smart move on DreamWorks behalf, But just like basically get these guys out there and have them play for 6 weeks.
Right. What do you hate most? I never really asked anybody this question either. What do you really hate most about touring, if you hate anything at all?
Well, if the camaraderie is not right, that could be the worst part about it. Like the people are at odds, or usually it's fine the first few weeks, but if you go to 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks tours, like everybody just starts getting on each other's nerves. So I guess really long runs, just kind of by default, like people start getting crabby and they start getting homesick and they miss their girlfriends or wives or whatever. I don't know. I think if the accommodations are messed up. Like maybe if you have an overnight drive and then you don't get to check into a hotel, so because maybe